Inspiration, clarity, confidence, and wholehearted growth strategies. Welcome to Your Next Chapter, the show especially for women discovering, deepening, and expanding their next chapters in business and life. If this is you, then hit subscribe now. I'm your host, Angela Raspass, and I'm so glad you're here. Well, hello there. I hope you are having a fabulous day. I'm actually feeling a little under the weather, or as you may be able to tell from my voice, I've got a bit of an allergy going on here. There is springtime happening all around us here in Australia, and I'm someone that gets really snuffly when this happens. Now, I've self-medicated in a good way. I've taken the Zyrtec, the antihistamines, which apparently are the ones that act the quickest on the market. But I got to tell you, 3 hours later, I'm still waiting for their effects to kick in. So I've decided I don't want to put off talking with you any longer. Today is podcast recording day. And so, as they say, the show must go on. So excuse me if I sound rather snuffly. To be honest, there's another bit of snuffliness around the edges. Our son just went back interstate to university again this morning, and I'm going to miss him. And anyone that has that semi-empty nest syndrome going on as well. Our daughter's still here, so it's only semi-empty, but, you know, we miss our boys or our girls when they move away. But anyway, today, as I said, is podcast day. So what shall we talk about here? I want to talk to you about the concept of being recognized and selected rather than seen and picked. This is a really important one. So where did it start from? Well, I guess a while ago, I read a beautiful book by the amazing Brené Brown. If you've been in my world for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a bit of a fangirl. And I read some background that Brené gave on this particular concept. She calls it a different thing, but they are related, and I'll explain that. But Brené talked about the difference between belonging and fitting in. And I think these concepts have parallels. Now, she says that belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. And because this yearning is so primal, we often try to acquire it by fitting in and by seeking approval, which are not only hollow substitutes for belonging, but often barriers to it. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world. And our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self-acceptance. Just see how that lands with you. It certainly made a lot of sense to me, and I know when I look back in my own previous chapters, that desire, that absolute urge to fit in almost overcame me, and it certainly had me being a chameleon, which I'll talk about more a little later. Well, Brené tells us that true belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It actually requires you to be who you are. And so that's a quote that I keep literally on my desk. That understanding rings so true with me. So it was a couple of years ago, I was over in Canada, and I went over to a conference there, and I met this gorgeous lady who's actually been a guest on the podcast as well, Donna Brown. She's back on one of the earlier episodes, and definitely worth having a listen into that one. But Donna and I were doing a bit of shopping, as you do when you're on holiday, and I walked into this particular store and I saw this awesome piece of wood with writing on it. But what it actually says, and I've got it here in front of me at the moment, is be you, the world will adjust. And I had to grab that for my daughter, because my lovely daughter has a strength of character and a single purposeness around her that sometimes makes her feel a little bit of a loner. But giving her that particular statement, which she now has in her office, hey, she's 16. She might not have really appreciated it in front of me, but hopefully it's getting into her wee head that this life is all about being who we're here to be. I don't know about you, but I certainly remember the teenage years as being fairly turbulent. That's when, as I said, I really wanted to fit in. But I think one of the biggest journeys for us in our next chapters is that journey actually from the head to the heart, where we are really leaning fully into self-trust. That one is a biggie. And so hopefully you will be able to lean into that as well as you move further into this next chapter that you're involved in right now. But it came up again when I was on a breakthrough call the other day with a a new client. Now, this woman has an incredible background. Her corporate career is stunning. The things that she has achieved in that corporate life are enormous. But for a few different reasons, she decided to step out for a wee while, had some family things to take care of, wanted to do some questioning as to what her next chapter was going to be. And after having that break, she's going back in and actually applying for jobs again. And she's finding herself really discombobulated and feeling really as though she wasn't being seen and wasn't connecting with the interviewees in these job roles that she was going for. And what we recognized as we were having this breakthrough discussion was that she was trying to be seen and picked rather than recognized and selected. Now, this is where the chameleon effect comes in. This is where you can find yourself in a situation, and there's many reasons for it, where your confidence or your self-belief is slightly dented, and you find yourself wanting to work out, who do these people want me to be? How should I show up to try and create that connection so that I can be picked, or for this particular role in this circumstance? But as Brené has reminded us, true belonging isn't going to happen when you're seeking approval. And in this case, that true belonging was all about joining a particular organization. And so it felt like there was this barrier between what she was wanting, what they were looking for, and sort of cross miscommunication going on. So we had a great discussion about what it means to actually instead show up completely as your authentic self and allow yourself to be recognized. Now, that means that when you are standing in your value, when you're grounded in what your values are, what you stand for, what you believe in, what you know you can contribute, then the person opposite you, be it in a job interview or if you are having a wholehearted conversation with a potential client, they will feel resonance with you. Okay, because here's the thing, if we actually do go for the chameleon effect instead and aren't anchored in our value, even if you get the role, even if you get the client, it is unlikely to be a sustainable match, because you can't wear that chameleon costume long term. Eventually the real you is going to start coming out the edges, because we can't maintain that front. And that obviously is not the sort of outcome that either of us in those scenarios are looking for. Now, this is especially important if you think about you as an entrepreneur, as someone that is looking to attract and connect with what I call a most aligned client, the ones that you're really here to serve. In that scenario, you can find yourself, especially if you have what I call an intimate business model. By that I mean a business model where you are looking to have long-term relationships with clients rather than short-term transactions with customers. You really, really need to ensure that there is a great match between you. And that can only happen when you are showing up and being recognized and selected as opposed to picked. Now, I think about my own business. It's very much an intimate model. I work primarily in masterminds, in retreats and VIP days where I work really closely with individuals. Now, if I was not working with someone that really resonated with me, that I was sure that I could help, someone that really felt as though the person that I am and the experiences that I have is a fit for them, then how could we ever dance that intimate dance that we need to have when we are diving down into their business and themselves, looking at how we can connect to that clarity and that confidence and that vision and those wishes and desires. If we don't show up as ourselves, we're never going to be able to do the work. We're never going to be able to develop that future picture that we are wanting to. So that authenticity is so darn important. And I know authenticity, it's a word that's thrown around a lot, and sometimes it feels as though it's lost its value, but underneath it, it still absolutely rings true. Now, in a next chapter business, I see them as so often being built on skinned knees. Now, that means the experiences that you've had in the past, the things that you've learnt from, the roadblocks that you've navigated, the deep holes you've probably fallen into and you found your way out again, all of those things contribute to the uniqueness of you. All of those things allow you to shorten and sweeten the journey for another person. So showing up in that full power, saying, this is what I understand, this is what I've been through, these are the skills and the insights and the wisdom that I've created as a result, that is your true authenticity. And those are the qualities that will be recognized by your most aligned clients. By contrast, if you're a chameleon, what happens, or rather what often causes that chameleon effect, is when you've spent a lot of time watching what everybody else is doing. Okay, this happens so much when we're working in the online world. There is so much thrown in front of us about how we should be or could be. It can be easy to lose connection with your own inner voice. Now, we've all got a calling where we're going to contribute in this world. And that's the calling that really fired you up and it encouraged you and motivated to get you started on this next chapter. But if you lose touch with that original calling, it becomes too easy to mutate into whoever you think you should be based on what you've seen or what you think a prospective client could want. It's really common to do this when you're first starting out and you're trying to find your feet, but it can also knock you for a sixer when you're making significant changes in your business or when you've gone through a period where things have gone a bit slow. There's that natural up and down, that ebb and flow of business. And if we're not connected strongly to that calling and understanding that concept of ebb and flow, we can get knocked off our anchor and start to think that we need to be someone different. Okay. And remember, when you are looking around, as we naturally do at what is happening in the marketplace, the bright and shiny outsides don't always tell the full story. And it is literally impossible to continue to wear like a costume that you've seen with somebody else. It will never fit you correctly. And it's not what your clients are looking for. The inner critic will have a bit of a field day here with you and tell you that other people are doing it different and therefore possibly better. But we need to resist that. And what I encourage you to do, and this has been such a learning curve for me as well, is to get off social media, to pause and to reconnect into your own truth. That is that self-trust that I referred to before. It builds over time and it's reinforced when you do follow your own heart. And when you can consistently do that, and you consistently ground back into what you stand for, believe, and want for your clients, you get that little bit stronger every single time. Being yourself, it really means owning what you do know and what you can offer. That individuality, your foibles, your experiences, your stories, your honesty, those are your greatest offerings. Those are the things that differentiate you. They're going to allow you to be recognized, for someone to feel so strongly that you're the right fit for them. Okay. Now this really comes into what I've often called the world of thirds. And let me explain. You are not here to serve everyone. You are not here to be in every job role. Okay. Neither of them mean that you're right for everyone, and that's as it should be. I want you to think of the world in divide it up into thirds. Okay, the first third of the world. Let's talk about your entrepreneurial message. What it is that you want to contribute to the world. Let's say that your heart is poured out onto a big billboard and it's in the middle of Times Square. And this is what you stand for, what you believe, what you want for your clients, the journey that you want to take them on. Now imagine a third of the world comes around the corner, stops and looks at that billboard and goes, "Oh my God, I so disagree with this person. That is ridiculous. That is horrendous. What were they thinking?" Now, I don't want to scare you here, but there will be people, around about a third, who just feel no connection. And in fact, they disagree with you. And that is fine. That is healthy. That's why we have choice in the world. There is another billboard, another service around the corner for these people. Let them go. Okay? The next third of the world will come bouncing around the corner and they'll look at your message, they'll look at your billboard and they'll shrug their shoulders and go, yeah, whatever. It doesn't connect or resonate with them. And that again is absolutely fine because there's somebody else out there for them and they need to go and connect there. But the third will come around that corner. They will see your message. They will connect to what it is that you are saying, and they will feel complete resonance. They will be, where the heck have you been? This is what I want. This is what I've been looking for. Okay. Now, one of our foibles, so to speak, is that we can find ourselves trying to convince and convert the first 2/3. We can find ourselves, if you're in the career mode, going to jobs, and even though in your guts you know that this role is not the one for you, something comes up inside you, that desire to belong, which is now turning into fitting in, as Brené would say. We try and convince and convert that interviewer why we would be great for the role. That natural, almost competitive streak comes up and jumps out of our mouth, so to speak. But that's not what you're here for. And gracefully letting go of those situations that you know in your heart, when you're trusting your intuition, are not right for you, it's your job to let them go. Because what I want you to focus on, what we need to focus on, is simply contributing and communicating. So that final third, be they clients, be they roles, the ones that are the really best potential fit for you, those are the ones that you're here for. Okay? Now, sometimes it feels difficult. I mean, if you want to go into the simple idea here, this is a niche. This is you deciding these are the people that I am here to serve, and to say no to the others. And I know sometimes, especially if things are a little tight or a little lean, it can be really difficult to actually hold your ground and say no. But boundaries, those personal boundaries, will always, always serve you so well. I don't know many people in my world who haven't occasionally invited or said yes to someone who doesn't quite fit with them and then regretted it later on. You know, for a couple of reasons. Number one is that they feel as though there is that mismatch. And it happens when you look in your diary and you see who it is that you are going to be talking to today, and your heart sort of drops a bit. You know that what's happened there is that your chameleon-like tendencies had come out when you accepted this person. Equally, when you look in your diary and you've actually only agreed to work with those people and serve those people who are that beautiful fit, those ones who recognized you and who selected to work with you, your heart jumps and the time just flows. That happened for me just yesterday. I was running a workshop out on the deck in my home here in Bayview, and the time just flew. The woman I was working with, who'd flown up from Melbourne, we are a perfect match for each other. I understand her and her business. She respects and understands the way that I show up in the world. We know what each other's skills and values and strengths are, and we just mesh together so beautifully. Okay? And that is the feeling that I want for you in your business as well. So what does that mean? What is the call to action, so to speak? Well, really, it's about you taking some time to reacquaint yourself with your values, reflecting on how are you showing up? Are you anchored in your story, in your unique approach to the world? Do you feel comfortable and confident that the way that you show up at different events, if I saw you at a networking event, or I visited your website, or we met in person, or I had a conversation with you over Zoom, whatever the case may be, will I experience that same person? Is the whole of you coming out in all areas of your business and your life? Because that's what being in flow in a next chapter is like. I don't want you to be afraid to stand up for something, to have an opinion. Don't feel obliged to make promises and show up in ways that don't feel right to you. Because when you embody who you really are, you'll create your strongest relationships. You'll feel anchored, you'll feel authentic, you'll be connected to your integrity. But most importantly, perhaps, that's when you're going to have the most fun. You know, it is challenging building a business. It's not always a walk in the park, as we all know. But if you are working with the people who delight you, that you are connected with, the ones who recognized you and asked and selected to work with you, if that's what's happening in your world, when things are tough, it's a lot easier to keep going, okay, when you're in alignment in that way. So I think there's a quote by Oscar Wilde that really sums this up. This concept of being recognized as opposed to seen and picked. And he said famously, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." So that, my lovely, is the message I'd like to leave with you today. Focus on that being the whole of you, allowing yourself to belong rather than fit in, allowing yourself to be recognized and selected rather than just seen and picked. So take a wee bit of time to connect back to that core of you and bring it out in resplendent technicolor in your next chapter. So thanks for listening in today. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and this and many more are coming your way. So take just a moment to hit subscribe so I can keep turning up in your earbuds and talking to you about the things that can unfold for you in your next chapter. So until we next speak, have a wonderful day. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Your Next Chapter podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love you to share it, perhaps leave a review in iTunes, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're looking for your own business breakthrough at the moment, then I've got something special for you. Visit angelaraspass.com/breakthrough guide. That e-guide takes you through the 4 key gaps to close that may be stopping you from reaching the next level in your business. I hope it's extremely helpful, and I look forward to talking with you again on the next episode.